Good morning, and it's absolutely fabulous to be here with you today. My name is Joanne Lockwood, and I am the inclusive culture expert with an organisation called See Change Happen. So we work with organisations throughout the UK, Europe, and further afield on helping organisations become truly inclusive and creating environments where people can thrive. So today I want to talk to you about why heart-led inclusion is not a luxury. It's actually a necessity. We need to think about that. Okay, so let's crack on. I've got some slides. I've got a couple of polls, and I've also put some links to some resources which you can access via this. And I've also got a QR code at the end, so you can scan that in, and I can also send you more information after the event if you wish. And I'll make sure there's at least 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So please stack the questions up. You can either put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A feature, or we'll just deal them as we come up with them. Okay. Okay, so this is a question I often ask people. What is your why of D&I? What is your why? Why does it matter? Why does it matter to you as an individual? And why does it matter to your organization? Because this is the crux of the matter, because often the why is because it's the right thing to do, because it's the company policy or it's what everyone else is doing. That's great. I'm not saying that's wrong. But the challenge we have is unless we own it in our hearts, this is heart-led leadership, heart-led inclusion, as we own it in our hearts, corporately and personally, it becomes performative. It becomes something we're not going to make sticky or engage with. So when I talk about this, I talk about the three elements, and that's from ancient Greek philosophy: ethos, logos, and pathos. So ethos is around compliance, the ethical response. We have our laws, we have our equality laws, we have our human rights laws, we have our internal policies about hiring, engagement, employee engagement, all these kind of things. We have these policies and rules. And that's great. And I know some people are really focused on their policies and rules. We also have the logos, which is the business case, the logical response. People want to see a return for that investment, for the training, for the programs, for the IT, whatever you're doing. But I'm a great believer. What we want to do is lead with pathos. So pathos is the emotional response, the human factor. So I'm a great believer if we get it right for our people first, we get it right for our people, then we'll be more successful. Yes, we'll be more profitable. Our empty seat costs will go down. We won't be retraining and rehiring. We'll make better decisions for our customers because we'll be more aligned. We'll be more conscious about the inclusion. And of course, if we're good at that, then of course we're going to become compliant. So for me, it starts with vision, it starts with values, it starts with company culture for the people, and then everything else falls into place. But I think if we're inauthentic and start with compliance, it doesn't send the right message to our people. Is that fair? Okay, so your return on inclusion, not our ROI is return on inclusion here, not investment, because that's what it's about, inclusion, is positive people experiences. So with all the buzzwords, D, diversity, equity, equality, inclusion, belonging, justice, everything we talk about in this space, the return on this inclusion is a positive experience for all of our people. Whether you're in the hiring process, a potential recruit, whether you're just being touted, trying to get you into the funnel, whether you're actually employed, your employee engagement, how do you feel working for the organization? And then maybe you're a stakeholder, maybe you're a customer, maybe you're a service provider. How do we make them feel as well? That's what it's all about. It's about that feeling that I feel that I'm having a positive experience, whether I'm dealing with you as an individual or you as an organization. How do I come away? How do I come away from that interaction? So that's my interaction. That's my bottom line here, is how do we create these experiences for people that are positive? And that's where we talk about conscious inclusion, because if I'm not consciously thinking about you, I'm likely to be unconsciously excluding you. Let me give you an example here. I used to travel around a lot pre-COVID days. I don't travel so much these days. And I bought one of these. This is a thermos flask. It's thermos designed, this. And it's for holding soup, your lunch. Yeah. So I used to put my can of soup in there, and all nice and hot. So I stopped on the side of the road to have my lunch. And it's got this great little thing in the lid. It's got a spoon. The spoon is actually built into the lid, which is fantastic. But this spoon is designed by right-handed people. It was signed off by right-handed people. It was QA tested by right-handed people. The entire product design was designed for right-handed people. How do I know this? Well, I'm left-handed. And when I try and use this spoon as a left-hander, so it's in my left hand now, if I try to use it, it folds up. Yeah, see that? It folds up. But if I'm right-handed, if I try and use it, it locks. So when Thermos designed this soup flask, were they thinking about positive experiences for all, or just positive experiences for right-handed people? So think about crashed it, threw my soup everywhere. Think about how you're designing your systems and your processes, and what lens are you looking through when you design these processes? Are you thinking through the lens of a left-hander? And that's a very simple thing, because left-handed people are about 10% of the population, let alone people who have allergies, let alone people who have disabilities, let alone people who have neurodiversity, let alone people who have different genders, let alone people who have different sexualities, etc. So we think about all these dimensions. And if we can exclude people who are left-handed by not thinking about them, it is likely we're excluding others. So this is where we've got to think about our conscious inclusion and creating positive experiences for all, not just the people that you see in your blinkers. Is that fair? Okay. So what's really going on in the DEI space right now? You know, the world is a different place in the last 3 months. It's been changing over the last couple of years. We're seeing organizations pulling back under pressure from what's going on in the US. We're seeing a rise in popularization and populism within the EU, the rise of far-right governments, far-right influence. And this is all attacking what I would call sound business practice. Being woke is not just being nice to certain people. It's about sound business practice. That's what we've got to go back to. DEI initiatives, EDI, whatever acronym you use, it's about sound business practices. So what we're going to do, and use my expression here, is hold the rope. We've got to believe what we're doing is the pathos, people first, the logic, our balance sheets, our justification, and also our compliance. That is what we're trying to do here, because it makes good business sense. During COVID, we all work from home. We're all doing this, but there's the wellbeing programs, because we recognize that our people matter to us. That's what's going on in the DI space at the moment. There's this tension where we seem to be mislabeling it as something not that it's not. It is good business sense. Okay. So we've got to hold that rope and understand what the negativity is coming back to us, and how we as an organization can plow through this and keep it in our focus. Yeah. So here's some headlines. Major US corporations quietly scale back DEI efforts amid backlash. So people are maybe not going public about this, but they're gently walking backwards. If you're dealing with US investment, if you're dealing with some EU countries that are less, this is less popular with. And we're calling it into question. So we've got to be careful here that this is not happening in the background. It's not happening by stealth. So we as EDI, HR, people professionals, wherever we are in our organization, this is the time to start calling it out. Because if we don't call it out, we don't stand firm, we don't stand strong, the backslide will happen. And it's our responsibility to, as I say, hold that rope. So I've got a poll question for you now. I've not done polls on this before, so I'm going to give it a go. I've set the questions up. These are the questions I'm going to ask you. How connected do you feel with your own DEI initiatives? And this is on a personal level. It's about you, not about the organization, not about big statements. How do you feel about DEI at the moment? All right, so let me go to the poll. Let me click on the button here. Here we go. So I should be able to do it now, and I'll show it on stage. There we go. There we go. So I can see it there. You're in the poll. So I can see a large majority of you here, which is really positive here. Large majority here are deeply connected. D is at the core of who you are and how you lead. That's absolutely fantastic. Fairly connected, somewhat disconnected, and not connected at all. So when we're all HR professionals, we all understand that when we look at MPI indicators, we're looking at all these NPS scores. We've got to recognize that it's not just about the people who tick the top box. We've got to think about it's about the people at the bottom. So, somewhat worrying, 20% of us here today, 20% of us, 1 in 5, are disconnected or not truly fully connected. That's the worry. While 75%, 80% of us are all right up there, 20% aren't. So if we're feeling that, and we're in the HR space, we're in the people space, how do our people feel? Are our people really connecting with what EDI means to them as an organization? Okay, great. Let me hide that poll. It's still open if you want to do it. We'll get the results and send them through to you afterwards. Right, where did we get to? Here we go. So yeah, we talked about that. So when DEI becomes disconnected, there's a danger we're going to start losing our heart. I'm going to start to feel that this organization is not for me. I'm going to lose that sense of belonging. So what can we do? It's not going to happen because DEI becomes bureaucratic. It becomes kind of performative. It becomes kind of a mission statement. It becomes about policies. It becomes about marginalization of people who have typically been in the majority, demonization of certain characteristics of certain groups. We're trying to make it a business case. That's why people are losing heart. It becomes tokenistic. We're employing people, we're recruiting people, we're amplifying people, we're providing leadership programs for some, but not for all. Is there any worry or any wonder by maybe people who are traditionally the majority, men, people who are white, people who are straight, are now feeling that there's no belonging for them because all the initiatives happen for other people? So how can we transform our EDI initiatives so that they apply to all? Because we're all people. We all want that positive experience. And often the tokenism lets us down. People feel bitter or misrepresented because somebody else is selected for the role, for promotion, for opportunity, when they think, hang on a minute, I should have had that. So we've got to watch out for that. We've also got to recognize that it's still taking an emotional toll on our marginalized groups, communities within our organization and in the wider workforce. The burden of being you sometimes, we talk about this, bring your whole self to work, whatever that may mean to you. It's not true we can do that. Many organizations, we still have to work at this. We still have to mask, cover, hide our identity, whether we're neurodiverse, whether we're gay, we're queer, we're transgender, whatever it may be. We sometimes have to hide that because what we see is in the world around us. We see it here in our colleagues' voices. We see it in the newspapers. We see it everywhere in the media. There's still that onslaught about our identities, our cultures, and who we are. So sometimes we have to ensure that we reach out to our colleagues so that they know we're there for them as well. And there's this lack of psychological safety. I talked about bringing your whole self to work. That is the core of psychological safety. If I can't be me, that inclusion safety, my pronouns, my identity, I can't talk about my faith, I don't feel like I'm respected, that's one of the first steps. Then I want to know I can learn, I can grow. If I can't learn and grow, how can I feel part of the organization? I know I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to trip over. I'm going to get things wrong. But that's how we learn. Someone said to me the other day, what regrets do you have in your life? And I said, well, I don't have regrets anymore. I'm 60 years old. I turned 60 a couple of months ago. And I've lived a life full of making mistakes. So all those mistakes have contributed to who I am today because I've learned over those years. No child ever learns to walk first time. They trip over, they bang their head, they bang their knee, they cry, they want their mum, they want their dad. They cry. So we have to be able to learn. We have to be able to make mistakes in order to grow. So our organizations have to allow us to trip over with cushions, with sofas around us, so we don't damage anybody else or ourselves. We need to be able to contribute. Contributor safety is another key aspect of psychological safety. I need to know that I can speak up and join into conversations. I can give you my ideas. I can tell you I'm left-handed and I've got a plan for this product. And then finally, I want to be able to call things out. If there's a victimization, if there's discrimination, if there's something's just not right, I need to know that I can say, no, that's not right. So all these factors contribute to psychological safety to allow us to feel connected with organizations. Because if we don't feel this, that's when we risk losing our heart and becoming disconnected. So maybe the 20% of you who said that you didn't feel fully involved in your organization, maybe some of these things are the barriers to why that is and how we need to address those. Yeah. So let's rebrand this DEI with heart, that pathos, going back to that first slide, pathos, human first, humanizing our inclusion efforts. So we've got to think about the difference between inclusion and belonging. I can feel included by your initiatives, by your recruitment process, whatever it may be. But when I walk in the door, how do I feel? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel respected? Do I feel celebrated? Do I feel embraced for who I am? Or am I just included? And there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. I can be lonely in a room full of people. I could be included in a room full of people, but I may not feel belonging. I may not resonate with your culture. I may not resonate with how people look at me, talk to me. I'm welcome in, but am I truly embraced for who I am? So we've got to think about those two dynamics. We're going to have confidence and courage. People are going to talk you down. People are going to talk against you. We've got to make sure we have the courage to stand up for what's right. And we've got to be people-centric. We've got to make sure that we are focusing on that pathos, humans first, not balance sheet, not compliance, but our people. And it goes beyond committees, statements, and bland corporate speak. This has to be real. And you have to feel it in here. So poll 2, if we go to poll 2, have we got the, where is it? What's the biggest challenge? Some of you already answered this already, which is good. Let's have a look. What's the biggest challenge that you face when trying to align DEI with your organizational values? Lack of leadership buy-in. Yep. Performative actions without meaningful change. Yep. Misalignment between stated values and lived experience. We see it all the time. Right intentions, sometimes bad implementation. In fact, most of you have spread your answers across all of these pretty evenly, and the lowest one being resistance or fear of getting it wrong. So it shows you're doing stuff, but there's a lot of challenges, and it's not one size fits all. Great, that's fantastic, good to see. But most of you are pretty split, 20% across the board there, with resistance or fear of and paralysis as being low. So that's good. That's good, because if I did this 3 or 4 years ago, I'd say resistance and paralysis would probably be higher. Great. Doesn't change that we've got to look at those stats now and think about how do we overcome those competing priorities. Right, here we go. Let's go on. So empathy in action. We've got to think about emotional and cultural intelligence. We've got to become self-aware. We've got to be aware of others. Go back to my left-handed spoon or right-handed spoon. We've got to think about how that impacts people. So I've got to be aware. I've got to take responsibility for myself for self-regulation and being cognizant of how other people feel. Because if I don't, I'll carry on down my own path without worrying about the organization. So especially when we talk about leadership, high emotional intelligence, high cultural intelligence are really key in today's world. Psychological safety and trust. People have to trust us. We have to make sure that's there. So a core skill in leadership has to be building environments and cultures, high trust, high psychological safety. Listening communications. We know that listening is important. We know that communication is important. And sometimes as a leader, sometimes as HR, we're so caught up in our own world, we forget that other people don't know. We forget how other people are feeling. And that's really important, to go out there, embrace people and start talking to them and celebrating who they are. So we've got to turn this resistance into resilience, turn the struggle into strength. Inclusion's a feeling. I said that earlier. It's how I feel. You can't tell me how to feel. What you can do is create environments so I feel how you hope I would feel. We've got to move past tolerance, tolerating people with different views, tolerating people with different identities, tolerating people with different characteristics, and move towards acceptance, move towards celebrating, move towards embracing people, really embracing people for who they are. That's where belonging happens. Embrace uncertainty. We're living in an uncertain world. We're hyper-connected. People have opinions. There's the rise of the incel movement, toxic masculinity. We're still not seeing racism stamped out. We're still not seeing sexism stamped out. We're seeing a rise of homophobia in certain EU countries. We're seeing a rise of transphobia across the world. So we've got to embrace that uncertainty and do the right thing for our people. Hold the rope. And we've got to challenge and learn, because these challenges evolve our practices. We don't have to get it right first time. We have to learn, back to what I said, we don't learn to walk without falling over. You're going to get it wrong. Lean into that. Those challenges will evolve you to be better people professionals, to create better experiences. So last poll, let's pop it up on the screen. I think most have already voted with it. What's that? How do you feel in your uncertain times? There we are. This one here, shown on stage. How do you feel? Fully ready? Yes. Mostly ready? Yeah. Somewhat ready? Not yet. So 25% of you are somewhat ready or not yet. You're holding back. You're not there. You need to do more. So again, don't just look at the 75%, the 80. Let's look at the people who are struggling here. What can you do? Let me talk to you directly if you voted in those bottom two. What can you do? What can you do as a result of today? How can we turn that around? So think of that as your action. If you're not feeling it, you're not ready, what can you do? And maybe the people who voted at the top, share your best practice with others. Is that fair? Okay, a few minutes left. I need to get to the end of this so we can do some quick questions. So leading with heart. Inclusion's emotional, not just operational. Leading with heart is strategic, not soft. Yeah. People first. People first. Authenticity drives belonging. People have to believe you, they have to trust in you. And belonging will drive your corporate performance and your team performance. Yeah. People first. Logic and logos happen. Compliance and ethos happen. But pathos has to be our focus. Is that fair? Yeah. Do we get that? Good. Okay. So what's the one thing you're going to do differently as a result of this session, all the sessions today? You've given up your valuable time. So action changes things. Your action makes things happen. Okay. So let's go to the questions. What have we got? We've got some questions here. Let's have a look in the. There we are. Questions here. Do you have any specific tips on how to motivate management in the importance of DEI? I would say it has to be part of the culture. Your management has to buy into this. You go back to courage and commitment. Managers have to have courage and commitment to buy into this. And I think I heard one of the presenters in one of the other sessions saying earlier, if the organizational culture doesn't meet your values, then maybe that organization isn't for you. And I'm not saying that's quite a privileged statement to say, to move on. But encourage your management by lived experience stories, by engagement, by showing success. I'm not a great believer in banging on the door. I'm a believer in lowering the drawbridge, having open arm conversations, sitting around a table and talking. So not challenging managers directly by calling it out, call it in, show through education. That would be my advice there. Do we have any more questions in there? Any more comments in the chat? Put in the chat before we go then, what is your action? What are you going to do? What's your one thought that I've given you today? Is a soundbite I can quote you on? Pop it in the chat. Work with culture. Love it. Call it in. Brilliant. What else we got? My favorite, I just hold the rope. Hold the rope. Lead with your heart. Yes. Believe. Any Ted Lasso fans out there? Believe. If you've not watched Ted Lasso, find it and you'll know what I mean by believe. The world is a good place. We just have to hold that rope and believe. People First Organization is a real winner for me. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Lower the drawbridge. Have that conversation. Excellent. Continue with leading with my heart and believe in people. People are good. People want the right thing. Everybody believes they're right. I believe I'm right. You believe you're right. We don't have to be wrong. If we can exclude people who are left-handed, it's very likely we're excluding others as well. Excellent. Excellent. Remember the spoon. Remember the spoon and the thermos soup flask. Nothing else. Got 2 more minutes. So if there's anything else you want to chuck in the chat, if it's too difficult to ask a question, I can bring it up. Let me go on to the next slide. I've got, if you want to scan that QR code, I've got resources, flashcards, cheat sheets in the links I've added to this session. There's a scorecard, which you can take, inclusive recruitment scorecard. There's a quick reference guides. There's a playbook on how to build an EDI strategy. There's lots of things there. If any of you want to use it, download it, take it away, do what you need to. And there's more on this QR code as well. So it's been an absolute honor, privilege, and pleasure to be with you today. And enjoy the rest of the sessions because it's an action-packed, and Eletive have done a superb job in pulling this together. So thank you.